be talking about the description of Isa alayhi salam. So in the first hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says that on the night of Mi'raj, he met Musa alayhi salam, and then he says he met Isa alayhi salam. فنعته النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال ربعة أحمر كأنما خرج من دماس يعني الحمام. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and he described him, saying that he was of medium height, moderate height, meaning he was not too tall and he was not too short. And he said that he had a red complexion. It was as if he had just come out of the bathroom. So this narration is mentioned in Bukhari Sharif. Second narration, the Prophet ﷺ says that I saw Musa alayhi salam, and I saw Isa alayhi salam, and I saw Ibrahim alayhi salam. As for Isa alayhi salam, he had a red complexion and he had a firm ja'dun, firm, sturdy body, like a bodybuilder. He had a firm, sturdy body. Areedu sadr, he had a broad shoulder. He had broad chest, sorry. And وَأَمَّا Musa, and then he described Musa alayhi salam. So here three descriptions were given to Isa alayhi salam. He was red complexioned, he had a firm body, and he had a broad chest. This was also mentioned in Bukhari Sharif. The third narration, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that there is not between me and him, i.e. Isa alayhi salam, any Nabi. And indeed, he is going to return back to this world. So when you see him, recognize him. Know that it is, in fact, Isa alayhi salam. Between his actual coming, there will be others who will claim to be him. So understand, recognize when Isa alayhi salam comes, just by looking at him, you will be able to know that it is him. What is his description? Rajulun marbu'un. First description is that he will be of moderate height, medium height, as explained, not too short and not too tall. إلى الحمرة والبياض. What will be his complexion? He will be between white and red. He will be fair colored. And what will he be wearing? He will be wearing two yellowish clothes. كأن رأسه يقطر وإن لم يصبه بلل. And it will be as if there is water dropping from his hair, even though water will not have touched his hair, meaning his hair will not be wet, but it will seem as though water is falling from his hair. This is mentioned in Abu Dawud Sharif. In the next narration, the Prophet ﷺ says that I saw in a dream that I see a person, Adam, meaning he had a wheatish complexion, slightly brown. كَأَحْسَنِ مَا يُرَى مِنْ عُدْمِ الرِّجَالِ. The best of that which you will see from the brownness of a man. The best that you will see. And تَضْرِبُ لِمَّتُهُ بَيْنَ مَنْكِبَيْهِ. And he will have limma hair. He will have long hair. In Arabic, there are three words. Wafra, limma, jumma. Wafra is that hair which reaches the ears. It is short hair, only reaches the ears. Limma is that hair which exceeds the earlobes, but it does not quite reach the shoulders. And the last one, jumma, that is that hair which exceeds the earlobes and touches the shoulders. So here the word used is limma, meaning it will exceed the earlobes, he will have long hair. Rajilu sha'r, and he will have lank, straight hair. His hair will be straight as if he has combed it and oiled it. And يَقْطُرُ رَأْسُهُ مَاءً, and water will be dripping from his head. واضعا يديه على منكبي رجلين وهو يطوف بالبيت. And he will have placed his hands on the shoulders of two men, and he had placed his hands on the shoulders of two men whilst he was doing tawaf of the Kaaba. So I asked, who is this? And they told me that this is Masih ibn Maryam, i.e. Isa alayhi salam. In another narration, Bukhari Sharif, again describing Isa alayhi salam, in this narration, from Hazrat Salim, he mentions from his father, Hazrat Ibn Umar, i.e. the child and son of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. And Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu takes an oath, and he says, by Allah, I swear by Allah, The Prophet ﷺ did not say regarding Isa alayhi salam that he had a red complexion. Rather, he said that whilst I was sleeping, what do I see? That I am doing tawaf of the Kaaba and I see a person, Adam. Adam, wheatish complexion, slightly brown in color. I see a man with this wheatish complexion, who had straight hair. Yuhada bayna rajulain. He was leaning between two people, and water was falling or dripping from his hair. So I asked, who is this? So they said that this is Ibn Maryam. And then I turned around, and what do I see? And then the Prophet ﷺ described another person, and that was Dajjal. So these were a few narrations regarding the description of Isa alayhi salam. There's actually another um, few narrations as well. I've mentioned one. I'll mention this just because this is about when Isa alayhi salam actually descends. So we will understand. So the first narration we've already mentioned how when Isa alayhi salam descends, what will his complexion be between white and red, and he will be wearing two yellow clothes as if as if water is dropping from his hair. And the second narration which we haven't mentioned is in Ibn Majah Sharif. That it's mentioned that whilst they are like this, talking about Dajjal, when Dajjal will be trying to kill a person and he would have resurrected him. This is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send Isa alayhi salam. And what will Isa alayhi salam be wearing? He will be wearing two yellowish clothes, as if they are dyed in like saffron. And he will have placed his hands. So meaning when Isa alayhi salam descends, he will have placed his hands upon the wings of two angels. This is how he will descend. And when he puts his hand down, water will drop from it. And when he raises it, then it will be as if pearls are falling out from his head. So this is the description of Isa alayhi salam when he descends. So we learn a few things about Isa alayhi salam. Now, there is a question here. When we were talking about this, when we mentioned the description of Isa alayhi salam during the Dajjal series, there was a question asked that I think the brother said that in the Bible or in the Vatican, along those lines, he said that in there it is mentioned that Isa alayhi salam was black. But yet, the Christians, whenever they draw an image of Isa alayhi salam, he is portrayed as a man with fair skin, with light skin. So what does Islam say about this? Because there are a few narrations. So obviously we have two narrations also. Here, as we were discussing, the one narration mentioned that he will be of red complexion, or one narration mentioned that he will have a reddish complexion. So how do we harmonize between the different narrations? So the first method is that Isa alayhi salam, very easy to say, that he is between white and brown. He will be of a fair skin, not very light skin. He will not be completely white, but he is not completely brown or black either. He is in the middle. Okay, his skin is such that you can see the brownness in it and you can see the fair, like the reddish complexion, red tone in it. This is the first method. The second is that the redness, Ibn Hajar rahmatullahi alayhi actually mentions this, that his actual color is a light brown color. But the redness that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw, this was due to some reason such as fatigue. And I think Qadi Iyaz rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentions the reason, the possible reason why it could be. He says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, كأنما خرج من دماس أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, that he had just come out of the shower. Now when a person comes out after taking a hot shower, a warm shower, you will see that that person, he has like a very red face. If he has had a steamy shower, very red in the face. So maybe this is why Isa alayhi salam looked reddish in the dream that the Prophet ﷺ saw, but in fact his color is a light brown. Again, this is only possible. This is only possible to see the redness in the face when the person is not dark brown color. You can only see the redness in the face when it is a light brown. So that's the conclusion from these first two opinions, that Isa alayhi salam is basically be light brown, and it is possible to see a bit of whiteness and a bit of redness in it as well. The third possible reason or way of harmonizing is that in each narration that the Prophet ﷺ described Isa alayhi salam, he also mentioned somebody else. He also mentioned somebody else as well. So in the first narrations where he described Isa alayhi salam as being light colored, he had mentioned before it Musa alayhi salam. And he said Musa alayhi salam as if he is from the tribe of Zut or Shanu'a, and they were people of a dark color. Musa alayhi salam was a person of dark color. So in comparison to Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam is a person of light color. For example, if you put me next to a sumo wrestler, you will say, okay, yes, he's very skinny. But if you put me next to an average person, then you will say, yes, he's a bit fat. So it depends who you are put next to, who you are looking at, which color you are looking at, under which light you are looking at. So here it is in comparison with Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam is a slightly lighter fair skin color. And in the second narration where Prophet ﷺ described Isa alayhi salam to be a slightly darker color, after him he mentioned Dajjal. And Dajjal, he was of a light red complexion. So according to Dajjal, Isa alayhi salam is slightly more dark skinned. So these were a few ways of describing or harmonizing between the narrations. One last point as well is we mentioned that Isa alayhi salam, when he descends, it will be as if water will be dripping from his hair. And in another narration, it mentions that it will be like water is falling from his hair, but his hair will actually not have been wet. So there are two possibilities. Number one, that it can mean literally that water will be dropping from his hair when he comes down, literally, as if he has just come out of the shower. And why is this? This is because according to some narrations, when Isa alayhi salam was raised to the heavens, just before the Jews plotted to kill him, when he came out to his companions, he had just come out of the shower. And when he had come out the shower, he had come out in front of his companions, and he asked them that from amongst you, who is willing to be made to look like me? And we mentioned this previously, that that youngster stood up and he volunteered, and he volunteered 2-3 times. And then Isa alayhi salam said, okay, yes, you will be made to look like me. And Isa alayhi salam was raised to the heavens, and this youngster was killed in the place of Isa alayhi salam. But the point here being is when Isa alayhi salam was raised to the heavens, he had just come out of the shower. So when he descends back to this world, he will be in the exact same state that he had been taken up. Water will still be dropping from his hair. He had just come out the shower when he was taken up, and when he comes down, water will still be dripping from his hair. And the second possible meaning, because in Abu Dawud Sharif it said his hair will not actually be wet, but it will look like water is dripping from his hair. So this is metaphorical, and this is referring to the fact that Musa alayhi salam, it will be very fresh. There will be freshness on his face, and his face will be radiant and glowing. And this is to basically indicate the fact that despite the fact there has been thousands of years from the time of Hijrah, right now we are in 1400 something, 1400 years have passed by since the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, and Isa alayhi salam was raised many years before this, so there have been over 1,000 years past between the raising of Isa alayhi salam and by the time he descends. But despite this long period, somebody might think, okay, yes, he's been waiting for such a long time. He will have become fatigued. He will have aged. Something will have happened to him because he's waited for such a long time. This narration is showing, no, he will be completely fresh. No fatigue will have touched him. He will not have aged. He will not have wrinkles, nothing. He will be in this exact same state. He will be as fresh as before, as young as before when he also. So these are a few descriptions of Isa alayhi salam